Theodore Roosevelt believed in the America that really works and worked. He refused to accept failure, mediocrity, corruption, decay, or decline, and neither should we.
That was President Trump on Wednesday during his visit to the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library, located in the Badlands of North Dakota, set to officially open to the public tomorrow. The 93,000 square foot bunker stands as a testament to the legacy of one of America's most famous commanders-in-chief. It features interactive exhibits as well as an artificial intelligence avatar of the late president with which visitors can interact. It says bully a lot. Joining us now from Medora, North Dakota, is Pulitzer Prize-winning presidential historian Doris Kearns Goodwin. Also with us, the co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader. Pablo Torre and Ali Vitali back with us as well. Thank you all for being here. Doris, of course, we will start with you. A remarkable new facility there for a tribute to a remarkable president. Tell us more about what we can find in North Dakota.
Well, it's absolutely astonishing. This was the place, as he later said, without which he would never have been president. He had been so depressed when he came out here. His wife and his mother had died on the same house in the same day. And he came out really to just escape. But somehow he found a healing out here, which was much more important than an escape. In the beauty of this landscape, it seeped into his soul almost, and he became the great conservationist. But even more important, from then on, he was a romantic cowboy. He was a wrangler. He had been with farmers and cowboys, and he was no longer just an Eastern dude, a dandy. So he was able to combine those parts of the country when he became back to be president. He'd also trained his troops later in the Rough Riders. He brought the Wranglers and the Cowboys together with the Knickerbocker guys and the Somerset clubs. So all these parts of America that had split apart, that felt they weren't the same. The West was decided from the East. The South was off from the North. He brought them together. He was a united figure, and he was so much fun to live with. I spent 10 years with him, and I felt like I was back with him again. My boyfriend, I got back with him again these last couple of days.
So, Doris, you and your ex there. Tell us about what lessons from TR, what parts of the TR resume or legacy or character do you think would be most useful for our country today as we head into the 250th anniversary?
In so many ways, I think the time in which he was president is much like our own, because you had the Industrial Revolution had shaken up the economy, much like globalization and the tech revolution and AI today. You had people who are rich and people who are poor, a massive gulp. Big companies were swallowing up small companies. New inventions were making people a little scared about the change of the pace of life. And capitalism had no regulations from the time of the Civil War until Teddy Roosevelt. So there was a feeling that there was no control over the economy. And he comes in with this perfect slogan, which is more than that. It's his whole legislative program, a square deal for the rich and the poor, the capitalist and the laborer. And he had rational regulations that did not break up these big companies unless they were not doing well, that allowed them to move forward, but with more concern for making sure that they were treating their workers right and they were lowering prices as a result of efficiency that came from bigness. And he just had a spirit, I think, that people glommed onto. He had more energy than anybody I've ever known. There was a vitality to him. He was fun. He acknowledged errors. And when he was he wrote a memoir about the Rough Riders, his experience in the Spanish-American War. And the humor said he made himself the center of every moment of every action, that he should have called it Alone in Cuba. So everybody's laughing at him. But instead, he writes back, I regret to tell you that my wife and my intimate friends are delighted with your book. Now I owe you one. I hope we can become friends. He was able to laugh at himself. He had humility. He had all the qualities of character that you really want in a leader.